Hey everyone, week 15, week 14 lecture, and I'm posting this in week 15 so that you can finish up your last requirements for the game project, and then I'll give you a few weeks to get everything working. So today we're going to cover the controller, which should already be working, but you can check it, and then adding audio. So in your package, if you were able to get the starter file and open up everything, you should notice in the, let's see, it's going to be under Gaia runtime. I believe it's under the Gaia runtime. You should have a Gaia player right here. Right there. And you also should have in your project under assets, you should have the first person controller, the standard asset first person, starter asset first person controller right here. And you should have a first person in folder, and inside that you should have prefabs. And the one that we're using is, I think, this nested player right here. Maybe it's the player, I don't remember. Either one I think should already be working. And you'll notice that if I play my game, let's zoom out and you'll see that, oh, not that far. Let's double click on the Gaia player here. And notice that there's my first person controller right there near the coast. We'll move this over here and then move it down a bit. Let's see. Let's play the game and let's see what happens. So I'm going to play the game, and the controller should already be working. And you'll know that it's working because when you play the game and then double click on the game window, notice the controller fell down to the ground. And then I can use the arrow keys to move around. The shift key will run, and the space bar will jump if you need to jump up anything. Okay, so notice if I get here, it'll jump up on the rock. Like so. You can go in the water as well, you can go underwater. So everything should be working. If not, check that you have the first person starter assets. If you don't have that, you'll need to get that. It's just the starter assets. Look for starter assets in the asset store, and then you want the first person. So the last thing to check if it isn't working is go into the Gaia Procedural Worlds Gaia Manager. I didn't do anything on mine, it just started working. But double check that you might have changed something. See where it says controller type under, where does this, create runtime? First person Unity starter asset. So that should be, that you should have that one right there, starter asset, okay? You notice you have space for third person starter asset or a custom. We use those for their game students. You just want to do the first person Unity starter asset. That should be in your package, so it should all be working. If you have this and you have the starter asset and your main camera is turned off, which it should be, and everything looks the same as here, then just reach out to me and touch base. But you want to, at this point, you want to walk around your terrain. And notice you can move this around. Mine was way up in the air, and that's why it kind of fell down to the ground. If you place it underneath the ground, like there, and you play the game, notice you'll fall through the world forever. Because there's gravity on that, and there's no ground. See how it's falling away, and then it's actually now going in the water. It'll actually fall through the water. Okay, you couldn't hear that, but I could hear bubbles. So what you want to do is just raise this up so it's above the ground. Better to be a little bit above the ground, and if you're not on the ground, it'll fall. You'll notice it in the game window when you push play. You'll see it actually falling. See how it kind of fell down to the ground there. If you double click on the game window, it'll give you full screen. And what's great about this first person is you can kind of inspect your world that you've built, and everything's going to look really great. So there's one last thing that I want you to do once you get your controller working before you add you can either add the music first or you can do this first. But if we go back to the scene, what I'd like you to do is, let's get out of full screen here. Let's go back to Window, Layouts, Default, and that'll get you back to what you're familiar with here. So what I'd like you to do is, let's see, it looks like I'm in the Gaia. So go back to the Gaia terrain here, right there, Gaia terrains. There should only be one. Mine is labeled 00202. And I put a road on here. If anyone's interested in getting a road, I can work with you on that. It's really easy and simple. But what I'd like you to do is take the terrain painting tools that I showed you. Once you have your Google terrain selected, click on the second button up here in the inspector, and you want to not raise or lower terrain. You want to paint texture. Just like that, paint texture. Choose a very small brush, maybe 10, 5, not 75, but let's try 5. Let's see what that looks like. 5 looks perfect. So choose a brush size of 5, and then go down here to your sand. Sand and gravel is going to work here the best. And go ahead and paint using the paint texture tool, and it's not painting. I don't know why. Paint a trail, a sand trail, using, oh, I have to select the sand right here. Make sure that's blue. And then notice that if I go in here, I'm painting a sand texture. Now there's a way to remove the grass and the bushes. So to notice that the sand is there, but it's being hidden by see that? It's there, but it's being hidden by the grass. Right? So go ahead and paint a trail across your terrain where you're going to then, and then move your controller on it. And then you're going to use that trail to walk, to tell the player where to walk in your terrain. Okay, so you can't see mine very well because it's hidden by the grass, but it's there. So what you want to do is you want to remove the grass, and the way you do that is you go back up to the buttons, the 3 buttons up here, and click on the second one, and you're going to press Shift and remove the trees. Right? That'll remove the trees. Now to remove the grass I think is this one. Okay, and you're going to go to, I think, Shift. That remove it. Actually, the grass with the sand looks fine. Yeah, so I'm holding the Shift key down and I'm kind of just drawing a path here. I think if you have a little bit of grass like I have here, that's fine. As long as there's a clear path where you want the player to go. That's Gaia grass, so it could be that you need to do this one. Okay, click on this one and then press the Shift key down. There you go, and that'll erase. Play around with it, but notice that I've erased a lot of the grass there. It's this one here. It's the fourth button over there, and that's Gaia grass that was put in there, and you'll notice that these are all there. You can try clicking on different ones of these. I guess I'm removing all of them, but there's a nice path. So just kind of create a path. Maybe go wind through most of your scene, not all of it, but around, maybe from one corner to the other, and just develop a path that I can walk on and you can walk on, so that the player can kind of follow along, and he's not lost or she's not lost. If you're interested in doing the road is easy too. We can do that as well. It makes a nice road that allows someone to walk along it. If we had time, could actually do a controller and get a car to ride on the road, or even the dirt path here. You can also put in some rocks and stuff if you don't like the sand. You can kind of be a little bit more artistic and come over here and paint texture. And remember, you've got all these other gravel, dirt. You can try different combinations and to get that path looking good. Let me now move on to the next video and teach you how to add audio. Okay, continuing the week 14 lecture, now that you've added your controller on the path, now let's add the music that you created for the 4th project. The key is to export it as an MP3 file. So take your Soundtrap file, export it as an MP3. I demonstrated that in another video. Save it somewhere on your computer, and then drag it onto your assets window right here. Notice that I've done two. It should look like this, by the way. It should be a yellow-orange kind of waveform. And then play it to make sure that it's working. I'm not sure you're going to be able to hear this. But it's playing back very loudly and very nicely. Make a folder here by right-clicking and do Create Folder. Notice they're called folders in the asset window and empties over here in the hierarchy. Call it music and then drag that music file or any other music that you want to add to your game in there so that it's nice and nice and tidy. Okay, and let's take this one. Now that you've moved it in there, you have a music folder, and you've clicked on them, and they play over here in Unity. You're all ready to go. Now, the way that the music works is you need to have one sound listener. So there's something called a sound controller, a sound object and a sound listener. You need one listener per project. Now, when you set up your Unity project in the main camera, it had over here in the component area, it had an audio listener right there. Now, you can only have one audio listener per project. So luckily, this is grayed out. Notice I'm not using my main camera. I'm using the Gaia camera. That's why our controller works. So you'll notice in the Gaia tools or the Gaia runtime, there is I think there's a camera in here. Gaia player. And you'll find that somewhere in here is an audio listener. So you do in fact have an audio listener already. But just to kind of go through the motions, check that you have one. I don't remember where they put it. Is it in the Gaia tools, Gaia Pro, Biome, Stamper? It's not in there. Terrain. It's going to be where the camera is. There's the player, nested parent, Gaia water, Gaia terrains. So I'm not sure. It's in there. Gaia tools, terrain loader. Yeah, you'll find that it's already been added. I think you actually will get an error if you have two audio listeners. So the way you play the audio is very simple. There's two ways. You can trigger it, which you'll need to write some code, which I don't want to get into. Or you can play it on awake. So when the game starts, it just starts playing. And you want to attach that to any object. I'm going to also demonstrate 3D sound by choosing my lighthouse. And then over here in the empty area of my inspector, I'm going to add a component, or at the bottom. I'm going to add a component. I'm going to add an audio component. Notice that there's the audio listener. If you ever did need to add another audio listener, you can do it there. But I'm going to add an audio source. Right there at the bottom. Add an audio source. And then in this audio source area here, I'm going to add a file. Notice it says none, output none. Oh, sorry. You want to do, where did that bugger go? Audio source. Hold on. Let me delete that. None audio generator, none audio generator, authentic mixer ground. Gosh, I was just doing this the other day and I've already forgot. Audio source, reset, remove component. Okay, let's try add component, audio reverb filter, audio source, I know it's audio source. And now what I need to do is, I believe that in this right here, I drag that, I drag it right in. That's the audio mixer. So I'm going to drag it into that one there. And it does go. Now let me play my game and make sure that's correct. Okay, let's play. I should hear it immediately because my player is next to this lighthouse, so we should hear it. Let me double check. Yeah, I hear it. It's working. I'm not sure you can hear it. And that's it. Now, what's great about yeah, I'm not sure you can hear that, but it is indeed working. So if we go back to the audio source, you'll notice that it has some settings here. I'll play on awake. That's the key. That will just automatically play when you start your game. You can also do things to trigger it, and you would turn that off, and then you'd write some script that would say, "Hey, when this player collides with this object, play this audio file." But that's a little bit too much complicated. I just want you to be able to add your music to your game. But you'll notice that it has volume, pitch, stereo, and it has something called spatial blend, 2D or 3D. If you turn it off, if you switch it from 2D to 3D, here, 3D sound will actually act as if it's in your game. So as you move closer to the object that has that sound or music, it'll get louder. As you move further away, it'll get quieter, right? Which is kind of cool. So what I recommend is probably putting your game music as 2D, but if you wanted to add some sound effects or other audio to your game, you could basically create those sound effects or go find them and add them, make sure they're MP3s, drag them into your music folder, and then add it to an object like the lighthouse. Let's say you have a bell that rings, and you could add that to the lighthouse, and then turn it on to 3D, and then notice there's a logarithmic scale down here. What this means is this is the volume, and this is the distance. As you get further away, the volume gets lower, and then finally just disappears. As you get closer, it gets louder until you're really right on it. And this, I think, is 100 meters. Yeah, 100 meters, you can barely hear it. But at 50 meters, you can start to hear it. And then when you're right on top of it, it's very loud. So you can try that. But by default, it's kind of got this logarithmic scale. But you can change this, and you can make it much louder further away if you wanted by taking these nodes and making them louder, or making it loud, at far distance. So I would encourage you, if you have time, to play around with this. Audio adds a lot to your game. The requirement is just to have some audio playing using this method that I showed you. Very simple, very straightforward. I think my confusion was which component. And I know I have an audio listener because it is working. So there's somewhere in here, it's in the Gaia player. I'm not sure where it is. After this recording, I'll go look for it and I'll post where it is. But it's there. If it isn't working, and if your music is working here when you click on it and it's working in the inspector, and you did everything that I'm doing, it could be your audio listener is missing or got deleted, or there could be some other problem. So again, meet with me online or meet with me on Thursdays. Thursdays are going to be lighter and lighter because I've basically covered everything. So Thursdays will primarily consist of anybody that's having trouble or problems meeting the requirements. Meet with me and we'll work together. I'm also online Mondays with my game class, so you're welcome to come there. I have a co-teacher that teaches me with me. And we're also just kind of working with students. So you're welcome to come on Mondays at noon, from noon to 1. And I'll just add a breakout room, and then my co-teacher Stephen can work with the game students. I can work with you on this stuff. He's also very knowledgeable, and sometimes he can help you, or I stumble. So anyway, good luck, have fun. Everything should be working if you've been able to download the starter file. It should all be working. That controller should be working, and it's not critical because you can still show me your game without it, but it's nice to be able to play the game and walk around and see, hear the music and hear the 3D elements of the audio, and look at all your nice handiwork that you've created using the various skills that I've shown you.